fight the power like BITCHUTE.
What's the status, 3?
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
The Initiates of the Flame, Chapter 7, The Mystery of the Pyramid. There comes a time in the development of the occult student when he understands one of the great secrets of the initiates, and that is that every sacred thing outside of himself stands for some organ or function within himself. This is, of course, true in the case of the Great Pyramid, except that this particular pile of stone, said by many to be the oldest building on the surface of the earth, is the great symbol of composite man. In other words, it stands for man as a unit. Let us first consider it simply from the exterior standpoint. When we first look at it in the distance, it seems to be one great stone. But as we come closer, we see that it is made of thousands of smaller stones, each one carefully fitted into place. Here we see the first likeness between the pyramid of man. We consider man to be a unit, but when we examine more closely, we find that it is a great number of small units, each working in harmony with the others. It is the same with everything. We take a successful life, and we think of it as an eternity. But when we examine it, we find that it is the number of small achievements joined together. As thousands of workmen were used in the building of the pyramid, so there are unnumbered workmen at work in the building of our bodies, which are symbolical of the same building. There are many pyramids all over the world. We find them in South America and in Mexico. We find mounds which are made to represent them among the American Indians, and in Europe and Britain we find remnants of the same thing. But there is only one real pyramid in the world. Even the others in Egypt are but copies of the Great Pyramid, and were used as tombs for the pharaohs. But nobody was ever found in Cheops, nor were there any signs that it had been so used. Now let us continue our analogy between the pyramid and man. If you will look at the accompanying illustration, you will see the pyramid laid flat, and you will notice that it is made of 4 triangles laid around the base square. The 4-sided base of the pyramid represents the 4 elements of which man's bodies are composed. These are hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon, or earth, water, fire, and air. These are called the base of all things, and upon this base the 4 bodies of man are raised, each from its own element. Thus the physical body is raised from the earth, the vital body is raised from the water, the emotional body from the fire, and the mental body from the air. There are 12 lines used in the drawing of the 4 triangles, which stand for the 12-fold constitution of man when it is complete. The 3-fold body, the 3-fold mind, the 3-fold soul, and the 3-fold spirit. It also gives us 12 signs of the zodiac divided into their respective groups. Out on the desert stands the Sphinx, the guardian of the threshold mentioned by Bulwer Lytton. It stands for the bodies of man, and is that strange being which must be passed before the student can go on in his development. The 4 fixed signs of which the Sphinx is a symbol are Taurus the bull, Leo the lion, Scorpio the eagle, and Aquarius the man, or the human head. I have already given you some work on the sacrum bone, and I told you that it was the grave digger's spade. Here is a picture of the head of the Sphinx and the inverted sacrum bone when it has been turned upward. We see the Sphinx in the inverted sacrum and also in the inverted Masonic keystone. Also, this is very interesting. but unless we realize the inner meaning of it, its true value is lost. But it is not chance that these things should be so. You have most of you heard of the dweller on the threshold, that creature built by our own actions and mistakes. Well, out on Egypt's desert, it stands and bars the way to the pyramid, the temple of the higher man, and the message that it gives to the world is, I am the bodies. If you would go on to the temple, you must master me, for I am within you. The Sphinx again symbolizes man, with the mind and spirit of the human rising out of the animal, desires and emotions. It is the riddle of the ages, and man is once more the answer. It is said that in ancient times the Sphinx was the gateway of the pyramid, and that there was an underground passage which led from the Sphinx to Cheops. This would make the symbolism even more perfect, for the gateway to the spirit is through the bodies according to the ancients. Let us now enter the pyramid, and passing through the corridors, come to the king's chamber, as it is called. There are 3 great rooms in the pyramid, which are of great interest to the student. The highest is the king's chamber, then below that is the queen's chamber, and down below the surface of the earth is the pit. Here again, find a great correlation between the pyramid and man. The 3 rooms are the 3 great divisions in man, which are the seats of the threefold spirit. The lower room is the generative system under the control of Jehovah. The center room or queen's chamber is the heart under the control of the Christ. And the upper room or the king's chamber is the brain, which is under the control to the Father. In this upper room is the coffer made of stone, the meaning of which has never been explained, but which the student recognizes as the 3rd ventricle in the brain. It is quite certain also that this coffer was used as a tomb during initiation, when, as is in the case in the Masonic initiations of today, which are the remnants of the ancient mysteries, the candidate was buried in the earth and resurrected, a symbol of the death of the lower man and the liberation of the higher. It is said that Moses was initiated in the Great Pyramid, and some also say that Jesus was instructed there also. Be that as it may, we know that for thousands of years, since the time it was built by the Atlanteans, it has been the greatest temple of initiation in the world. It seems also that the work is not yet done, for mutually it is teaching those who will see the mysteries of creation. It is said by many that it is the original Solomon's temple, but this we know is not true. For while it may be the first and original material temple, the true temple of Solomon is the universe, the solar man's temple, which is slowly being rebuilt in man as the temple of the soul of man. There is probably no point that is as important in connection with the pyramid as that of the cornerstone. On every top of the Great Pyramid is a comparatively flat place about 30 feet squared. In other words, the true stone, which is the head of all the corner, is missing. If we look at the reverse side of the United States seal, we find again the pyramid, from which the top is separated. Omar Khayyam, the Persian poet, gives us the secret of the keystone when he says, "From my base metal shall be filed a key, which shall unlock the door he howls without." The value of the stone is better understood when you understand that it completes all the triangles at once, and without it, none of them are completed. This stone is a spirit in man, which fell from its high position and has been lost beneath the rubbish of the lower man. This is the true capstone that is now hidden in the pit of man's temple, and which he must exhume and place again as the true crown of his spiritual pyramid. He can only do this when he calls the 1,000 of workmen within himself together and binds them to the surface of the higher man. There must be no traitors to murder the builder this time, and Lucifer, the one rejected by man as the devil, is the one who must through the planet Mars send man the dynamic energy, which man himself must transmute from the fire of passion to the flame of spirit. He then must take the tools of the craft and cut and polish his own being into the capstone of the universal temple. It is interesting to note how the casing stones that once made the pyramid so beautiful and true were carried away to build the cities nearby, and in connection with that it is interesting to note how the soul body of man, the casing stones of his spiritual temple, have been sacrificed in order that he might have material things. As we look at pictures of the ancient pyramid and sphinx, which have stood on Egypt's sands for ages, let us see in them our own mystery temple, made without the sound of hammer or the voice of a workman. And we sadly think of this mighty ruin broken by ages of neglect. Let us remember our temple, and that its cornerstone is missing also, and our walls are falling with neglect. Let us learn the lesson which it teaches. Hasten to perfect our pyramid, cap it with the stone of spirit, offer upon its altars our sacrifice to the great sun spirit, and bury our lower nature in its ancient coffer. Then for us will its mysteries be revealed, and the sealed lips of the Sphinx give up their secret.